Hello, Brad here, just to say we're super proud that the Friday 5pm podcast is sponsored by the Malt Miller, the UK's best home brew store.
We use the Malt Miller for all of our homebrew experiments, as well as tapping them up for advice and binging on their awesome YouTube channel all the time.
That's why whenever we release a homebrew video, we put a recipe kit live on the Malt Miller, so you can brew with the exact same amazing ingredients that we did. The same ingredients used by pro brewers.
So alongside the Malt Miller's nitro-flushed hops, cold-stored yeast and milled-to-order malts, you can pick up recipe kits for our 5 Points Best Bitter, Russian River West Coast IPA, and now the fastest beer in the world, a hazy session IPA that goes from grain to glass in less than 48 hours.
Sign up to their newsletter at tinyurl.com/Malt Miller to get 5% off your first order. With the Malt Miller's amazing customer service and Johnny's 48-hour recipe, you could order the ingredients on a Monday and be drinking the beer by the weekend.
Speaking of which, it's Friday.
It's 5pm.
So enjoy this week's Friday 5pm podcast. It's Friday, it's 5pm, and I have started the week by, tragically, this story is going to make you very sad, Bradley. I wasted a bunch of incredibly special beer.
Oh dear. What do you mean? What happened? Please elaborate.
I was in a rush leaving the studio yesterday, and I closed the window a little bit too hard. And since I built this thing, it doesn't hang together all that well, and clearly sent reverberations all around the studio. And the shelf, which I have just above my head at the desk, that had my St. Bernardus Winky Monk bottle on.
Oh, shit. Okay.
And the Winky Monk fell, and the bottle survived, but the cap popped. So not only does my nice yellow carpet now smell of banana, clove, figs, dates, but I then had to spend, that evening, instead of having a crispy lager, I had about half a bottle of St. Bernardus 12, which was clearly an old bottle we were gifted with the Winky Monk. Yeah. Very well aged, lots of oxidation, sherry, going beyond sherry kind of character, I would say, and into the realms of not actually that tasty anymore.
Okay.
But you'll be pleased to know I think the label survived.
Well, that's the main thing with the Winky Monk labelled ones, obviously. Worryingly, isn't it above your desk, which has got all of the equipment that we edit and do everything on? Didn't whack the MacBook Pro or anything?
No. It could have hit a hard drive there, probably in the firing line, but it didn't.
Good.
It just hit the desk and then hit the floor and then started fizzing at me.
Oh, wow. They've got some heft to those. I wonder how a sort of thin MacBook body would do against a St. Bernardus Winky Monk bottle.
Yeah, I mean, Belgian bottle-conditioned beers,
yeah,
they're chunky glass, aren't they?
They are chunky glass.
Yeah,
I reckon.
I don't think it would survive.
Well, I reckon it'd definitely dent it, for sure, and it might do some real damage. Let's not ever test that. But
well, I've still got 3 beers up there, Brad.
Okay, that's maybe it's a message from the gods or someone telling you maybe not to put heavy bottles of glass above your head and your working environment.
Well, the problem is the fridge is full, the backup box outside is full, and I don't want to clutter the area behind me and shoot too much. So I'm basically out of space.
You got a good problem in that it's all beer, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, I've got a good problem that it's all beer, but I also have a bad problem that I have to store bottles of beer about 2 foot above my head.
Yeah. It's not ideal.
No.
What we need is to dig you a cold store underground in your garden, like a cellar.
Think do it underneath the studio because it's not already starting to list slightly to the left.
Yeah. We'll do like a Colin. You know Colin Furs. Well, you probably do know Colin Furs. He's huge, but he's a YouTube sort of inventor guy that's massive, like one of the biggest YouTubers ever. And his neighbours must hate him because he's basically dug a Moleman tunnel system underneath his terraced house. um, with like sort of bunkers and all kinds of stuff down there. I think he's even building a carport that goes down from his front drive. So we could do a sort of Colin Furze in your garden, make a Moleman system of beer caves, and then your problem would be over, Johnny.
Now, I can't be alone. When you said Mole Man, I didn't think of a man who was like a mole. I thought of the Simpsons character. So I was baffled for a good 15, 20 seconds of that.
Do you not think Mole Man Simpson
monologue.
character's called Mole Man because he looks a little bit like a mole?
Well, it's his surname, isn't it?
But doesn't he? He looks like a little chubby mole, doesn't he? He's got
Well, it's the wrong colour for a mole.
He's got like huge jam jar glasses because moles notoriously can't see.
Yeah.
I think he's called Mole Man.
Yeah, they're probably playing on words there, but I don't think he digs. I've never seen an episode in which he digs holes, Mole Man holes.
No. But yeah, Mole Man. There was a Mole Man in London, wasn't there? I think it was East London or something. Not too long ago that dug extensive systems of tunnels underneath his massive house, right? Not like one of these Chelsea guys that dig like basements to have gymnasiums and stuff in. This guy was a lunatic, and he just went all underneath all of his neighbours' houses as well. And he caused a sinkhole in the street, I seem to remember, and that was how they captured him. That's how they knew that he'd done all this mad shit under his house, because he basically caused a sinkhole, and then they realised it was like under everyone's houses. Yeah, it was like some sort of X-File supervillain type vibes. Yeah, but that happened.
Well, as ever, I started a conversation and I could never have expected where it would have ended up. Mole men in East London causing sinkholes. There was a sinkhole this week in a football field because of an abandoned mine or something. I wouldn't Google the video. It's quite terrifying.
Blimey.
But yeah, so I've spilt some Bernardus, and I'm now going to build a cellar that will cause a sinkhole on my street. That's the summary of the first 6 minutes of this podcast.
If anyone cares, Johnny, the London Mole Man was in Hackney, and his name was William Little.
Billy Little.
Yeah. And since the 60s, he was digging all these tunnels for like 40 years. Mental. And it cost over £100,000 to fill the holes with cement.
I mean, that's not as much as I thought.
No,
I'd have thought it would have caused more damage than that.
Yeah.
He's got away with that lightly, Billy Little.
Right? He's done all right there. He's had a great time. I mean, when we're kids,
it's only cost him £100,000.
£100,000, yeah. His house is probably worth actually it looks shit, but it's in Hackney, so it probably would have been worth a fair amount of money.
Yeah, I mean, a garage would cost more than £100,000 in Hackney these days.
He was a civil engineer, so I was wrong when I said
doing it right.
When I said he didn't have any experience. I was wrong. But yeah, Moleman's house. Wow,
there we go. Good clarification,
dude. Now I'm looking at this Moleman's house, tourist attraction in London. It looks like a new swanky house now. Looks like they've knocked it down. Anyway, we'll move on, Johnny, from Moleman.
Yeah, well, because I'm aware we've got another monologue coming from you, because obviously you've had your annual adventure to Stonehenge. And I'm sure that will take us to like 45, 50 minutes.
Maybe. But I have got a Stone Age cold, so I probably won't want to talk as much as I normally might. But yeah, I've been on an adventure. You
got a curse from Stonehenge?
Well, I had it before I went.
The ancients. Right.
The ancients I've angered the ancients or something. I don't know.
It's a pre-curse.
Maybe. I had it before I went. Then I got sort of full of beans again a few days ago, felt a bit better. And then I woke up this morning, it just kicked my ass again. So I'm not really sure what's going on. But we were on a shoot day a couple of days ago.
If your immune system's under attack already, it's more open to other infections, right? So you get hit by a wave of them.
I have been childcare for my niece, for my nephews, basically. So they've been crawling all over me as well. The last few days, I've been picking them up from school and stuff. So they're little snot machines, as you know, having one of your own. So that's always fun. Always fun, sort of trying to work out what I might pick up off them. But I'm currently eating a
You're
Spanish.
eating on the podcast.
Well, I wouldn't say eating, but it's I'm eating. You said before we started, have you got any cough sweets? I said no, and then I thought, oh, I think Kirsty has some sort of cough sweets because she is more prepared than I am in life in general, and she just furnished me with a tin. Looks like a Brill cream tin, called Pranarom Bio Aroma Force, and they're gummies from from Spain. They taste like they haven't got any sort of medicinal benefits at all. Sort of vaguely spicy, I guess, like a cough sweet, but they're gummy like a pastel, like a fruity pastel. And I can't see how. There's no menthol going on. I can't see how this is going to stop my sore throat and everything. I think I'm calling bullshit on a Pranarom.
Brad, you were coughing constantly before we hit record, and now you haven't coughed. You've coughed once since we started.
Power of the mind, mate. I've got the ancients on my side now. They're taught me ancient wisdoms.
Wait, I thought they cursed you in the... Never mind. Tell us about Stonehenge. What?
Stonehenge,
any beery adventures? Any brushes with the Hare Krishnas? Mr. Hare Krishna?
We had a little dance with the Hare Krishnas. Last year when I went, they've got this giant temple made of paper. It's huge. I'd say it's about 3 stories tall, and it takes a whole load of them to move it around, and it's all lit up like a Christmas tree. Last year they were moving that throughout the night, through the campsite, all down to the ancient monument, which is like a mile and a half away, all over the place. You could see it moving all the time. This year I only saw it once, and I just think
moving that fast.
Well, they'd lost their mojo a little bit. They couldn't be bothered after last year, I think. Or it was
like that was a bit of a faff.
It was a lot colder last year. I think they were probably moving to stay warm, whereas this year it was a bit less brutal. But yeah, I had a great time. I put a couple of Instagram posts up of me getting to site, and then I was gonna take some great beers on my walk from the campsite to the actual Stonehenge, which is a mile and a half. But this year they changed where the barrier was. So where I'd normally have maybe 20 minutes to walk a mile and a half. I don't know if it's 20 minutes or a bit longer, actually. Probably a little bit longer than 20 minutes, but it doesn't feel that long. You'd have that time to be drinking a beer. They've now moved up the security gate to the campsite. So it basically caught me out, and I took an Allagash White. I can't remember what else. I had some other nice beers as well, and we had to just sit down on the grass and drink them all. But because it's such a nice place, full of nice people, as soon as you sit down near this security gate, people come and start offering you all sorts of stuff, Johnny, because they're going through. So they're like, "Do you want this? I'm going through." So you can mop up if you just stay at the entrance, and other people get caught by the removal of the barrier. Oh my god! Yeah. Moving of the barrier. Yeah. So I
What'd you get?
Well, we got given the offerings were a doobie from a guy that looks incredible, like a sort of. I was actually recording the Instagram thing, right, and then as soon as I finished recording, I felt a presence looking at me. I turned around, and it was this guy with like grey dreadlocks. I would say down to his arse, like pretty long dreads. And he offered me something, Johnny, and he was like, "It's all good, man." He's like, "You can have this." He's like, "I'm going through there now."
That's reassuring. Yeah.
He told me what was in it, and then when I went back to Kirsty. We had a group of people that had joined us, and so happened one of them, his name was Evan. He was an Aussie, quite a nice guy actually, and he had a quiet mate that came over a little bit later, called Rob. Rob looked like a sort of 1960s peace and love kind of guy, looked like a bit like Jesus, with very long hair, and what I can only describe as sort of like blossom hat. Like if you ever watched the TV show Blossom. So like a sort of straw hat with loads of kind of ribbons around it and stuff. Anyway, it transpired as we got chatting with these boys that Robert, or Rob, I think he was called, his dad was actually in a seminal 60s band, or several seminal 60s band. His dad was Speedy Keen, John Keen, who was in Thunderclap Newman,
Wow.
and he actually wrote the song Something in the Air, which is an
I think
amazing
that's their
song.
only song, isn't it?
It's their big song. Come on, let's be fair. But yeah, his dad wrote that and sung on that as well. He sang it and everything. So I think he was in the Who. And I'm actually looking on Wikipedia now. He was in Motorhead as well. So dude was cool. Dude could drum. But he was saying his dad sadly died, I think, when he was 1. He didn't really get to meet him very much, but he brought along his own bongo drum, like a big bongo drum thing, and a guitar that he was going to take through as well. So he was hoping to get involved in all the bongo madness. That's the sort of people you meet when you get there. And we thought they were like 20 something years old. We thought they wanted to go, so we were like, guys, you can go whenever you want. The first time they'd been there, and we said like, oh, we're going to go to the loo now. Thought that's a good out for them, they can go. And they were like, oh, we could go to the loo as well. So we didn't all go to the loo together, obviously, but at the same time.
Where is this story going? Why are you telling us about your
Just
your
because
toilet
I thought
break?
these guys are kind of cool. They're young. They're like half our age, but they want to they wanted to hang around with us. So we all went into Stones together, and yeah, he was doing a bit of bongoing. I saw a guy the next day on a didgeridoo, in a little circle that was pretty fun. I'm not even sure it was a real didgeridoo. It made a very squeaky noise. They're usually deep and resonating, but this was a squeaky doo, very squeaky didgeridoo. I think it was a some sort of knockoff didgeridoo. Anyway, it was great, Johnny. I drank some lovely beers, but I couldn't drink them within. Well, you can't drink them within the Stones anyway, but I couldn't drink them as close as I wanted to.
I swear I remember last year when you were telling us the Stonehenge story, the same thing happened just 20 minutes on.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
It does. There's a bag check that's closer to the site, right?
Sorry, but what I mean is you had to down your beers because
We did.
maybe you didn't realise you couldn't take the beers in or something.
We didn't. We hadn't been before, so we didn't really know what the crack was. But you just reminded me about this.
Nobody mentioned crack.
Oh well, the crack, as in like Anyway, but there wasn't any crack as far as I could tell. The second bag check, Johnny, when we went back at night, because I'm getting a bit old and I'm obviously infirm from my croaky voice. We've got these sleeping bags, Johnny, that you can walk in. Do you remember I took one away with us before? And you can unzip the arms on them, poke your arms through them, and they're like a sort of glowworm thing. You can put your legs out the bottom. So me and Kirsty have got one of those each. And when we went through the first security, they said no camping equipment allowed. So they were like, you're going to get turned away. We were like, shit. Anyway, we kept going, went to the second one, and then as we got there, we put the glowworm things on and wore them as outfits as we were walking through. So we looked like a couple of glowworms walking through security. We're talking like head to toe, sleeping bag, essentially walking along in
Padded
it.
sleeping bag, yeah.
Yeah. And they were like, what is that you're wearing? And we said, they are puffer coats. They're puffer coats, mate. They're not camping gear, they're puffer coats. So, that's how we got through security. There's a photo of me. I got someone to take a photo of me next to security with my puffer coat on, because I thought it was hilarious. And yeah, it was great. We had a good time. Too many people there this year, Johnny.
Times have changed for us, Bradley. You know, it used to be that you'd be sneaking beer through security at festivals, and now we're sneaking sleeping bags so we can have a quick nap. This summer, I'm going to be hosting talks at the Manchester, Bristol and London craft beer festivals, giving festival goers the chance to attend tutored tastings, rare beer pours, meet the brewers, and even guided tours of the bars. These 3 festivals are the highlights of my events calendar, featuring some of the world's best breweries with delicious restaurant pop-ups, great music, and a really welcoming party atmosphere. It's the 3rd year I've been hosting the We Are Beer Tastings table, but for the first time I'm delighted to offer all of our listeners, viewers, and Patreons £5 off a ticket when you use the code CBC5. Just hit the link in the description to buy. See you there.
Well, my plan was quite ambitious. I was hoping I took my little chair through as well. I was hoping that we might stay out all night. But then Kirsty reminded me I had to drive the next morning off site. So I needed a few hours sleep. And seeing as last year I nearly killed us on the motorway coming home, where I basically almost fell asleep on the road and then had to pull over for about 3 hours and have a power nap. I thought probably just go back to the van, Jean-Claude Van Kang, my Kangoo van, and have a little snooze, which I did. But yeah, it's really great. I'd highly recommend it to anyone. What I'd like to do next year, if anyone fancies joining me, let's all have a beer together by security.
Let's take a paper pub.
Yeah, I love that.
To rival the Hare Krishnas.
That's a great idea. Yeah, British boozer.
I mean, I won't be there because I will be, hopefully, at next year's Cheltenham Food and Drink Festival, which is where I spent the same weekend.
Oof, good link.
Significantly less hippie-filled.
Yeah.
But not without its dramas.
Oh, dear.
So on Thursday night, the day before I was going to be headed up to Cheltenham to do the talks about seasonal brewing and how beer changed the world, my upcoming book and my last book, I got a call from the organizer saying, like, the beers were really hard to get hold of, Johnny. And I failed. So he had a list of 10 beers to get, and he managed to get 4.
Shit.
So I spent Thursday evening driving around Hertfordshire collecting beers.
Did you manage to get all of them?
Between me and him, I managed to get hold of 4 of the 6 we were missing, and he managed to get hold of 2 more with my guidance.
Yeah.
And yeah, so the boot was a bit fuller than I intended going up to Cheltenham. But yeah, I went into my local bottle shop, the beer shop, shout out, and bought an entire case of barley wine from them, which was quite a surprise.
Blimey.
Learned that if you buy 12 bottles, you get a 5% discount.
Nice.
So that was nice. So walked out with a literal case of barley wine.
Do you think
really nice barley wine from Chilton's Brewery.
Called,
something terrible like Bodger's Ale or something, but it was very tasty.
It's an interesting purchase in a hot summer weekend, isn't it? A case of barley wine. Oof.
Yeah, I mean they were baffled when I went in and said what I needed. I was like, I think it was like 18 bottles. I actually need 18 bottles of barley wine, please.
Wow. Yeah, that's
mental.
And
a lot of it came across from like 2 different cases. So some was about 2 years old, and some was clearly fresh as they'd bought some more. I also went. People don't know that. I keep wanting to shout this out. Maybe this is the right place to do it, but Sainsbury's now stock Spartan Helles 3 for £6. So one of the best lagers. Maybe not one of the best lagers in Germany, but certainly one of the best lagers in the UK while it's here. For £2 each.
We went to Spartan, didn't we?
Yeah, we toured Spartan for my new book, and then we went to Augustina Keller afterwards, and did have one of the best beers in the world. But yeah, a bit of a mothball brand, but actually one of the most important breweries to have ever existed. And I dig into all the stories there. It was where the fridge was invented, where Helles and Märzen were invented. They gave the yeast to Carlsberg, who then isolated it and gave it to the world. So they're sort of indirectly responsible for the proliferation of lager all around the world, for better and for worse. So yeah, really important brewery and a very delicious beer that you can get for £2 a bottle in Sainsbury's at the moment.
That's very good, isn't it?
Yeah, I've actually been pounding those. It's sort of become a bit of a. I mean, it won't last. In 2 weeks' time, I'll have found something else to get excited about. But I'm very much enjoying having Spartan at that price.
Do you now look like, or do you shout, "This is Sparta," like a Butler in 300. Are you cut up now? Have you got like an 8-pack from
Yeah,
drinking 3 packs
that's how it
of
works. Yeah.
lager?
It's got to be multiples of 3. I've got a 9-pack.
9-pack.
Hmm.
Great. Can't wait to see that shredded.
No, I don't. I do make that joke in the book.
Okay.
One of the subtitles is "This is Spartan."
Oh, nice. There you go.
I'm sure will cause absolute hilarity. But yeah, so that was the food fest. The talks went really well. It was lovely to meet. There were lots of craft beer channel fans that came to watch it and came up to me at the end and got their book signed and stuff. Lovely to meet you all. And sold lots of books as well, so that was wonderful. But a couple of other things happened. A couple of other things of note. I had some very tasty beer from Stroud Brewing, who are not a million miles away from Cheltenham and make all organic beer. Had some very tasty beer from them, sort of a West Coast pale that was great. Steady Rolling Man, the local beer, they are in Cheltenham, sold out. So anybody that's saying that craft beer and hazy IPA is over is wrong. It was the most popular beer at the Food and Drink Festival. But also, I ticked off a little... is it a bucket list if you didn't really want to do it? You just felt like you should. I drank a Hawkstone, Jeremy Clarkson's beer.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
Which I had pretty high expectations for. A, because having watched The Farm, the experts say that his barley's very good. But B, it's brewed... He's bought, I don't know how much of a share, but a decent share in Cotswold Brewing, who are a very, very good lager brewery in the Cotswolds. I think, but is it Burton on the Water or Burford, one of the two. And I've had lots of delicious beer from them. We've featured them on the channel. Their Christmas beer, Nutcracker, their sort of big, like Doppelbocky kind of beer, is really, really good. But this beer was crap.
Oh no. Crap, like really crap.
No, I mean, so it had diacetyl.
That's
And
not great.
as a recipe, I think it lacked a bit of bitterness, a bit of bite, a bit of depth. But possibly the diacetyl was... Because diacetyl can be caused by dirty lines and stuff like that. And I would suspect that Cotswold Brewing wouldn't let a beer out of their brewery if it had diacetyl. So I reckon possibly it was just like bad lines or something. It was a warm day. The keg had got warm. The lines might have got warm. A little bit of fermentation might have been happening if they hadn't been pouring many pints because it's quite early in the day. I don't know. But it wasn't great. But I still do want to do a video eventually of like tasting Hawkstone and the Tesla beer and Guy Ritchie's beer and Hulk Hogan's beer. Be a cool celebrity beer episode. I mean, they'll probably all be terrible, but it would be fun.
That's just made me flash back to Florida when I got you to take a photo of me next to Hulk Hogan. There was a Hulk Hogan statue. So we could recreate that photo in real life and drink a beer with him. Imagine that. That'd be amazing.
Like use AI to like put his beer in your hand. We've got footage of it. We've got you walking past it. Maybe put his arm around him or something.
Well, what we could do is if we actually get to meet him in real life, we'll say, bear with us. Can you just go in the same pose as that statue, right? And then I'll recreate the walk in, and then we'll seamlessly cut the two together, and he'll come alive, like Kim Cattrall in Mannequin, like a magical creature. It just goes ping, and then they're alive and doing Hulkmania shit. There's an article on the Times, Johnny, how Jeremy Clarkson's Hawkstone beer is going global, but it's behind a paywall, so I can't read it. But
we're never going to know how it's going global.
I don't know, but it's all I can see are the top two lines, right? It's a paywall, £1 for 4 months, ends soon. I don't want to do that anyway. Sod the Times. The writer's lager is being sold across the country, but he's not satisfied with that. He wants to take it to 200,000 pubs, and then all I can see is from the Pacific. So I don't know whether that's in the the islands
to the Atlantic.
Yeah,
the US?
Maybe he wants to take it to Hawaii or something. I'm not sure.
I mean,
Pacific Islanders.
You've got to cash in while you've got the fame, right?
Yeah.
I don't know whether Cotswold Brewing have the capacity for that. So is he going to contract brew it? Probably, which will be deeply disappointing, given that the whole idea of his brand was it uses his barley. But then that's not particularly working for him from the evidence I've seen. So good luck to him. Good luck, Jeremy.
I saw what's his face, the other one the other day has got like a gin tasting channel on, I think, on YouTube. What's his name?
James May?
James May, yeah.
Yeah, he's got a pub, and I think he's got a gin brand as well, yeah.
Yeah, he had a run-in with on the Twitter sphere.
No, I mean, I didn't...
He did, come on.
It was resolved amicably.
You got
we
his
both
back
walked
up.
away going... I got his back up initially.
You both walked away.
Because he got my back up.
Doing fingers at each other, doing like fuck yous behind the back, sort of as they walk away.
I mean, because the amount of tags he must get a day, I never thought that he would actually reply to my criticism of an interview he did, in which he basically said that pubs that close deserve to close. And I was like, that's massively reductive, particularly as somebody who owns a pub that famously he had to pour money into to get it through the pandemic.
Yeah.
So yeah, I got his back up, but we resolved, and he was like, you know, he didn't say he didn't mean what he said, but he did sort of say, you know, I hope these pubs survive. In fact, really, he didn't back down at all. But
no, I think when he pops up on my feed the other day, he was reviewing Jeremy Clarkson's gin. So maybe
Jeremy has a gin, does he?
I don't know. I'm sure, unless it was a fever dream. I have been a little bit unwell, but I'm sure I saw that on the feed. I didn't watch it. I don't mind James May. I don't mind any of them really. They're all obviously slightly annoying, but they've got a place in my heart. And all have
their controversies.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, in particular, Jeremy, but
has James May got that many controversies, or the other one? What's the other one called?
Well, he fell out with the co-founder of the Craft Beer Channel pretty spectacularly.
Yeah, I know that, but I mean,
yeah.
Other than that, obviously, world-shattering news.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he does, because well, I mean, I don't think I've watched a single episode of
the Grand Tour.
Yeah. But I'm sure that with the leash, without the BBC going, actually, mate, that's a bit racist, they've probably got worse, I would say.
I went through a little stage of watching some of them where it was like, I just sort of, I don't know why, maybe I had a weekend on my own or something. Kirsty might have been away, I can't remember, and I decided to just watch loads of those Grand Tour things. They're quite good. They're a bit nostalgic of old Top Gear, obviously, because it's got those three Muppets in it. But they were enjoyable enough. I don't remember anything. They used to do crazy stuff and offensive stuff, like write really bad, offensive things on each other's cars as they were driving through, quite Bible Belt places in America and stuff like that. Real, like, you wouldn't be allowed to do it today kind of stuff. They don't seem to do as much of that anymore in the Grand Tour, but it's not quite Top Gear, but we've never done Top Beer, have we? We should do a Top Beer.
I mean, every time we've spoken to a production agency about making a craft beer channel TV show, it's always been that kind of reference. But it makes me very uncomfortable, because while it's fine with their very masculine approach, well, I mean, it is masculine, even if they're not alpha males.
Macho vibes, yeah.
Yeah, that is not how beer should be presented in any way, shape, or form, because it dismisses most of the people that actually drink beer. But anyway, let's get this car back on the road. We had some exciting news tagged at us in the Discord forum, our Patreon Discord forum, which you can join if you want.
Oh yeah.
Patreon.com/craftbeerchannel. Saying that Germany, Berlin's techno scene has been added to the UNESCO cultural list.
Oh, das is good, yeah.
Das is good, yeah.
That's cool.
So I mean, it's amazing. And having been to a couple of Berlin techno clubs, believe it or not, it is so vital to the nightlife of Berlin, and it's very reassuring that something as niche, and also something that has definitely passed its heyday, can still be. Well, I guess that's the reason it's being protected, right? Because it's in decline, and there's obviously a lot of movements against loud music venues, perhaps some illicit drug taking, cracking down on that, and all this kind of stuff. So it's reassuring that kind of thing is getting recognition from UNESCO and indeed from the German government for our project of trying to get something that has probably had its heyday in cask and British pubs recognised. It feels, although the Berlin techno scene and British the British idyll of pubs and cask ale seem very different, they actually have quite a lot in common and quite similar pressures because they are licensed premises based on, a pretty niche and local cultural phenomenon.
Johnny,
So I was heartened.
I'm really interested to know what techno clubs you've been to in Berlin. Have you actually been to techno clubs?
Yeah, so I had my best friend did he did German and Italian at uni, so he spent 6 months in Berlin and he spent 6 months in Florence as part of his degree. So we went over and had one of the most debauched evenings of my life on New Year's Eve.
Okay.
In Berlin in like what that would have been 2008 or 9.
Okay, yeah.
I could not tell you the name. We went to I think 2 clubs that night. We watched New Year where Germans were literally stood by the Brandenburg Gate lighting fireworks they held in their hands. And then they were firing them upwards, sideways. It was unreally dangerous. I've never seen anything like it. I feel like
that sounds all right. What's wrong with that?
You can't hold a rocket when it's. Never mind. It was terrifying. And then we went to 2 clubs. I remember being danced around by a bald guy, like just stood in the dance floor. There was just a bald guy dancing around me.
Was he naked? Were you naked?
No, he was dressed in all black.
Cool.
In my head, it was like leather or something, but I think that's my brain adding that.
Right.
I remember somebody attacking us with like Nutella on a bus on the way home.
That wasn't Nutella. Sorry to break it to you.
No, it definitely was. It definitely was.
Why the fuck? What?
I mean, it's New Year's in Berlin.
Wow.
One of the most surreal evenings of my life.
I mean, Nutella is delicious. It's very delicious. So I'd be like, come at me, bro, with your delicious Nutella.
I can only assume that's how it started. I don't think somebody just randomly attacked it. It's probably like, can I have some of your Nutella?
Yeah.
I don't really know.
Do you remember back in the pandemic that I think it was in Paris, there were like riots because people wanted Nutella and they weren't able to buy it. I think there was a shortage. I seem to remember it's like a national treasure. I know it's not even French, but in France they fucking love Nutella on bread and stuff. And it called
Thanks for the recipe.
I love the idea of you being danced around a bald man who looked like he was wearing what did you say, rubber or leather?
Black is as far as I'm willing to confirm.
So the music was definitely techno, was it?
Oh my god, was it definitely techno? Yeah.
What, like really? Yeah. Like minimal techno? Because they love a bit of minimal techno. I've been to minimal techno nights there, but
it was like the best way I can describe it in my head is, you know, in the Matrix when he follows the White Rabbit. That's sort of how it is in my head. Yeah.
Brilliant. I love it. Oh man, we've got to go to a techno club next time we go to Berlin.
No, we don't. I mean, I think it's the first and last time I've been to a techno. It's possibly the last time I've been to a club. Actually, no, I did my masters after that, and we definitely went clubbing in Soho and stuff. But last techno club I ever went to, definitely.
Well,
I'm well past it now. You know, we're the kind of people that sneak sleeping bags instead of booze into hippie gatherings.
It is great, Berlin. That's awesome that it's been recognised as well. In all seriousness, it's what we need, man. More stuff like this. They should have done that with London when we still had some amazing super clubs and everything that have all gone by the wayside now. Yeah, it's a real shame over here. So great they've saved it. It's such a place of excess and freedom, Berlin. When you go there, I think it's a wonderful place to go and lose yourself for a bit.
Yeah, and I think it's wonderful that UNESCO recognised the importance of that. You know, it could just be, you know, we see it as sort of unregulated and underground, and as a result, there aren't going to be many protections there. So it's great that UNESCO and the German government, to be fair, because that's how it works. The German government have to recognise it first, and then it can go to UNESCO, which is the process that we're going to be going through with pubs, well, with cask ale and with pubs sort of attached to that over the next couple of months. Speaking of which, so as you know, as we announced, Keep Cask Alive 2 is happening.
Yeah.
And we have the first shoot on Tuesday.
We do. Bloody hell.
Woo!
Woohoo.
Woohoo! Yeah, so we've rented a car.
What did we go for?
Why...
Did we get the Mustang like I suggested?
Yeah. We've got Mustang, top down, down the A1. No, I got the cheapest rental we could.
Oh, great.
So it's going to be probably something like a Toyota Aygo.
Oh, tiny.
Yeah, oh yeah, teeny tiny. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. The smallest. I mean, probably not as small as your Polo.
I've got a Lupo, mate. Get it right. Come on now.
Sorry, a Lupo. Oh my God, how embarrassing for me. But yeah, small. And we're going to Thornbridge to film the Burton Union in action.
Mate.
Hopefully to taste Jaipur Burton Union style next to Jaipur non-Burton Union style.
Sick. How good is that?
Yeah, and I think hopefully we'll make a full video about the Burton Union and also the bit that will be for Keep Cask Alive. So yeah, dead exciting to get started on that. We've nearly lined up shoots at the amazing Timothy Taylor Brewery. That'll be in a couple of weeks' time, and also going to York to meet. So York University are working with us, or rather, an academic at York University, Jed Mears, is working with us on our campaign for UNESCO. So we're going to go meet him, have some pints, and have a chat about the next phase, which is happening fast, right? We've now got, amazingly, the BBPA, the British Beer and Pub Association, and CAMRA have both backed our campaign. And they've put it in their manifestos for the first 100 days of the new government. So when the new government comes in, and we're fairly certain we know who that's going to be now, the BBPA and CAMRA will be pushing whoever becomes, the culture minister or the small business minister or whoever it is that sort of they think is most relevant. They'll be pushing them to recognise cask ale as intangible heritage in the first 100 days, because that is quite an easy win, and all they have to do is sort of sign a bit of paper that says yes, it is, and then the big task happens of trying to get UNESCO to recognise it. But if the UK government recognise it, that's a huge step in terms of the practicalities of protecting it, and then the UNESCO is kind of a big boost, and also not an authority body, they don't necessarily have authority, but once UNESCO recognise it, then the UK government can't sort of back away or let it gather dust in the civil service filing cabinet.
We got some strong competition, Johnny. We're up against Punch and Judy Theatres and some sort of
Morris
weaving.
dancing.
Well, no, I think
weaving.
Weaving, wasn't it? It was like weaving of sort of, I don't know, what was it? Weaving. It was
I can't remember.
Like fibres from bloody whatever corn dolls. I think it was.
Was it? Oh my God!
I think so.
Okay.
Like kind of
Niche.
like Blair Witch style corn dolls. Yeah. or True Detective Series 1 corn dolls, like the terrifying things that they find around. That's a great series, isn't it? The first one, very good.
Great series. I referenced that in the new book as well, weirdly.
Do you? Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah, talking about the hotel that I stayed in Svalbard. It was very much like the murder house at the end of that season.
Oh, great. Sounds lovely.
Yeah.
It sounds like
Yeah,
that
it's pretty
place
welcoming.
we stayed in New England that had like all the bunny rabbits everywhere. Like
Oh,
giant...
well, that was more Shining-esque, wasn't it?
Dude, that was terrifying, that place. Seriously
I
terrifying.
put a chair against my door on that trip. Yeah.
Yeah.
People don't realise how close we came to being murdered while making that New England documentary.
Yeah, it was full on, that place, man.
Was it trolls? Bunnies? What
No,
was
it
it?
was bunnies. It was bunnies.
It was bunnies all over.
It was
the
vaguely. It wasn't even Easter, but it
reception.
was like Easter stuff. And then there were like
we were there
giant
early
stuffed
March,
bunnies.
so it could have been Easter. Yeah,
It was bizarre, and we were the only.
I didn't
guests,
even make
right?
that. I didn't even make that connection that it was Easter. I just assumed it was the end of of my life.
I think it was. Wasn't it like a sort of snow resort that was out of season? Was that it?
Yeah,
Or was that
yeah,
someone
very
else?
much so. Yeah,
They had like
we were in
no
the
one
White,
else there.
White Mountains.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, or Black Mountains. Black Mountains.
Is it the Black
was it?
Mountains?
I don't know. One or the other. But
The mountains in New Hampshire.
I think didn't you eat the waffle in the murder basement in the morning for breakfast? Did you have a waffle?
No. One of us tried. I can't remember, but it was like the
couldn't
batter was
figure it
like
out.
sour and dusty.
Yeah.
So just sort of had a bit of toast, probably Nutella on bread, and then we
that wasn't Nutella. But
then we drove, like left skid marks in the in the car park.
Yeah, it was a funny one that. Great place. Go there. Great place.
I'm sure when it's in season, very few tourists are murdered. Right, back on track, Bradley. This week's video.
Oh yeah, the video. Great.
The thing we
Sorry.
do and we're supposed to talk about in the podcast. So yeah, this week's video was a retrospective of the 10 blind taste tests that I've done, of the 155 different beers that I've tasted, and the thousands of comments about my appearance that were garnered as a result of going sort of semi-viral. I wanted to do this because basically lots of questions were raised in the comments and on our Discord forum and on social about beers that I tasted, beers that I hadn't tasted, why certain things weren't included, or why I drew certain conclusions, such as Corona being weirdly Moorish. And I wanted to answer those questions in a video that everybody could see and I could explain it rather than trying to do it in a comment. And I think it was pretty useful. It was certainly useful for me, sort of crystallized some opinions I had certainly about macro beer and about supermarket beer and about how beer awards and blind taste tests are only useful up to a point. What did you learn, Bradders?
That you've done more blind taste tests than I thought you had. I learned that we kind of a lot of our perception of beer is to do with everything else other than the taste as well. So the environment, the memories, the branding, the prestige, maybe if people have told you it's a good beer or they've told you it's a bad beer, all of these things colour our perception of how the beer tastes and how we enjoy the beer. It doesn't necessarily mean that any of those things are true or fair, but we're kind of, our minds play tricks on us to either like go, oh, it's gross, or say, oh, it's incredible. Bit like the Emperor's New Clothes sort of vibes. There's potential in that you can convince yourself something's amazing because everyone else says it's amazing, or you are having a great time, or it is amazing because it doesn't matter, because even if it doesn't taste amazing, you're having an amazing time, so it is amazing, and that's what matters. So that's what I've learned.
Yeah.
What I've learned is, Johnny, just enjoy beer. Whatever you want to drink,
don't read the label.
Beer. Don't read the label. Yeah, maybe.
There's probably something I could have mentioned in the video, and actually I've got a comment about it as well from somebody. But the context of the beer matters as much as the quality of the beer. And so I was in the US. Actually, it's when I made my video where I visited Treehouse when it was really, really small, and visited Trillium as well. On that road trip, we were in Philadelphia, and we went to Monk's Cafe, one of the best pubs, certainly for beer in the country, probably. And they have Pliny on tap, really unusually. Not many places outside of California do. And so we went there specifically because my friend had never had Pliny. And we went there, and he actually is the owner of Manchester Union Brewery now. It was crazy busy because it was when the Craft Beer Conference was on, and I think they were having an event. It was like a Lost Abbey tap takeover or something. It was absolutely rammed, standing room only, and that's an exaggeration. And we had our pint of Pliny, and I was loving it. Very happy to stand in a crowd and drink it. But my friend was like, this place sucks. This beer is not that good. Can we just leave?
Wow.
And for months, it was just like, he was just like, yeah, I don't like Pliny. I thought it was crap. And it was so obvious that, because he's a tall guy. He's like 6'4", 5". It was too cramped for him to really even process what he was drinking. Even though he was dead excited to try beforehand, he was immediately like, nah. And the context completely coloured his experience of Pliny. I don't know whether he's had Pliny since and gone like, oh, wait. But our experience of beer is so coloured by the place that we are, by the expectation that we have. And removing it is really, really interesting. Because I chose beers, as I said in the video, I chose beers I never thought I'd choose, like Castile. And then as soon as we held Castile and looked at it and then tasted it, we were like, nah, it's crap. And the truth of how good Castile Triple is probably somewhere in between the two.
Yeah, agreed.
And it's just so hard to shake it, which is why, I made a bit of a joke of it in the video, like saying, I'll just get somebody else to pour you a beer and hand it to you. But I think that would be a very easy way of just having a little tweak of how you experience beer. You'll know roughly what's in the fridge, but not selecting it specifically and trying to take it just at face value might be an interesting thing to do. I'm certainly going to do it.
Yeah. Maybe just don't do it in like a Weatherspoons or somewhere. You'd be like, is it a Madre? Is it a Foster's? Or is it some other shit?
A Madre?
They don't have Madre, do they?
It's Madre, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Madre.
It's supposed to be the soul of Madrid.
It's nothing to do with Madrid. They bought like a little brewery that's out there, but they've never brewed anything like that beer in that brewery.
Yeah. I mean, it's complete fiction.
Yeah,
there's a comment about it. Paul Johnson 6849 asks, "Isn't any Madri brewed in Spain?" And I say, it never has been. It's a fictional brand.
Yeah,
it's inspired by a brewery that Heineken own out there. Heineken owning Madri. Somebody's come in saying, I'm not sure that's correct. It's credited with being from La Sagra Brewery in Spain. You're like, nope, that's marketing again.
Yeah.
It has never been brewed in Spain.
Never
it
ever
is brewed
been
in Northampton or whatever.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah. Well, there's a video. So I have a list on my phone of like beer video ideas when they come to me, and one of them is a video.
Whoa! We don't announce video ideas anymore on the channel, Johnny. Sad to say.
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
It's just like, what even is world beer? Because this is, if you go to like a Weatherspoons, actually, I think they have a world beer section.
Yeah.
But they're all brewed in the UK. The last one I saw was like Carlsberg, Heineken, Madri, Birra Moretti. And you're like, no, those are all British beers.
What's wrong with that lineup, Johnny? That's a cracking list, mate.
Well, I mean, drink what you enjoy, absolutely. Just don't say that they're world lagers. They have not seen the world. They are less travelled than...
They haven't got a passport, let's be honest. They've never left the country.
They're never going anywhere.
No. That's an interesting idea, isn't it? Yeah. I think we could probably do something on Madri as well. Like...
an expose of Madri.
Yeah. It's like, this beer's not fucking anything to do with Spain.
We should go to the brewery in Spain.
Yeah,
and try to order a Madri.
That'd be good. Good. I'll keep an eye out for cheap flights. But yeah,
you do anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Any comments that you found that you enjoyed?
Tyler Parsonage said, "Hype beer blind taste test sounds like a fun one. Would love to see how that plays out." So I think that's quite a good shout. Hypey beer blind taste test, please. What would you think about that? Would you do a hype one? Maybe just all hazy.
I think we could do. Yeah, I mean, I think you'd need to be involved in that one because I think that one will be really coloured by expectation. So you'd need to buy the beers in, so I don't even know what I'm going to be tasting blind.
Okay, I'll stick a Madre in there just to fuck with you.
And call it Madre, please. Keep calling it Madre. We could do that. You could go out and buy a load of tasty dippers, and we can see which one comes top.
I think that would be good. We had a comment from Jason Richwell. As a beer nerd who's worked at a brewery for a couple of years, I still love a Miller Lite. Didn't a Miller Lite get absolutely destroyed in your taste test?
Yeah, it did. But I will say that's a well-known phenomenon that brewers who make particularly big, bold flavoured beers love macro lager because their palates are shot, they're around hops all day, it's sensory overload. They want something that almost has no sensory analysis that you can do. But, I mean, as I discovered, I thought that Miller Lite was terrible, truly flawed and disgusting. Which I don't think shows that Miller Lite is a bad beer. I think what it proves is that Miller Lite is not as consistent as the cliches claim, and that's what I said in the video. It's like, I don't think the macro beer is as consistent as we think it is. It's just that nobody ever drinks across 2 or 3 different batches of it, because the batches are huge, and you'll buy a 24 case and they'll all taste the same. That's fine, but if you go back a year later, you can't remember what the 24 pack before tasted like. Everyone talks about the roulette of craft. I think there is a bit of a macro roulette too.
Agreed. We've got another comment from someone who obviously hates you, Johnny, called Uvarg. Good name, strange name. Love your taste test videos. Could you do one on sours, Johnny, please? That'll give you some terrible heartburn and some other side effects. Would it kill your palate? Would you just be like dead straight away from drinking sour after sour?
Well, I mean, I can deal with it. I've judged 20, 25 different sour beers in a day with professional judging.
How do you cope with that? Because that's pretty full on with the sours.
Well, obviously you have crackers and water and frequent breaks in between beers. But also, I mean, the thing to note when I do these blind taste tests, I'm not drinking that much. I might be making little jokes about how, I've had 15 triples. And actually, the triples would have hit home because they're like 10%. But I'm only having small sips of these beers. So probably the heartburn would come for me, but I reckon a Rennie at the end and I'd be all right.
Yeah.
I'd need like a bit more of a steer on a sour one because obviously that's not a style. There'll be multiple different fruits, multiple different grain bills. It would need to be like, maybe you could do pastry sours, and the angle would be like, which flavors really work together, and who's making really clean sours. Maybe you could pick fruits. You could go like cherry sours, raspberry sours, or something. I'm not quite sure. I'll have a think about that one. I think the hype beer one could really work. I think we could find a sour one. I think Rob from Hopsine said he'd like to see a Gers one. I think that would be interesting. Although again, Gers varies hugely year to year. Like as far as beer goes, it's got the strongest sort of vintage element to it. But that would be interesting to do. We sort of did do it when I was opening the Beer Merchant's tap. We tasted like 4 or 5 of the different Gerses in one go, but it wasn't blind, so we were coloured by that. So maybe a blind Gers taste test would get some views. Views, people viewing it, and views in the comments, I'm sure.
We got a very important question here for you, Johnny, from @Mithu007. Could you share the Excel data sheets, please? They'd like to taste through the beers and compare notes.
Yeah, I'm fairly certain I can do that.
Yeah.
If I share the original one, it could even end up with people could be looking at it.
It flashes up on screen,
see
doesn't
I'm
it?
editing it. Yeah,
right.
I mean, you could screenshot it there, but I could share the actual file. Maybe not the one that I'm going to edit in case you catch me filming live, but I could definitely find a way to share that. So yes, 007, I will find a way to share that spreadsheet.
Yes.
That was it. I mean, there were lots of great comments, lots of great ideas in there. Somebody wants a Hefeweizen or a Belgian wit one. Absolutely. I've been thinking about doing a Hefeweizen one as well because it's one of my favourite, most underrated styles, and it's
Can we do
one where I think there'll be more variation than we think there is.
Should we do canned Czech lagers? Because I think they're all pretty bad in the can.
Yeah, we can do. We'll have how many do you reckon we can get hold of though? Maybe somebody in Czech Republic can help us out.
Yeah, that'd be
It's
good.
so frustrating. Like we started this playlist far too late because Brexit has made it almost impossible to ship beer.
Yeah, it's true.
Whereas it would have been so easy beforehand.
Yeah. There's. Did you ever do the supermarket ones? I can't remember. You did a supermarket one, didn't you, back in the day, right?
Did supermarket IPA? I think there's probably one in like British lager or supermarket lager.
What about
or something?
the like Aldi and Lidl type where they've got their own beers that they're selling that are sort of look a bit like craft beers? Well, they're made.
The
by
issue I have with that
craft
one
brewers.
is it's very UK centric because the beers will be entirely different elsewhere. Whereas,
True.
Well, I guess the supermarket IPA one was that as well. But I've tried to make these ones as broad as I possibly could.
Yeah.
But so I have used Aldi ones. In the bitter one, a couple of Aldi and Lidl ones appeared, and they were terrible. So yeah, if you want to truly trash my palate, let's get me tasting loads of diacetyl and acetaldehyde riddled, contract brewed, warm stored bitter.
Boom. That's a date. That's a date right there.
Yeah, can't wait. Right, that's actually all we've got time for this week. Thank you so much for all the comments and the ideas. We definitely will take those on board. Although it is worth saying, I think, at this point that Brad and my life is basically keep Cask alive now until my book launch in November. So there will be other content going live in the midst, but there might be some dropped episodes. There might be some dropped podcasts as we run around the country trying to film this, and indeed run around Belgium. So apologies in advance for that. And the first dropped episode will be next week, unfortunately, because we're at Thornbridge. We have a homebrew series in the pipeline, very nearly finished. I was hoping it would be finished for next week, but because we're going to Thornbridge, it won't be. So next week there's no upload, but hopefully there will be a podcast, and then hopefully the week after that there will be our first homebrew episode in over a year, which is insane, and I apologise.
That's a long time, isn't it?
Yeah. So we will we will get that out. And we will bring homebrew back more at the start of next year once Keep Cask Alive is done. The last thing to say is that it is Manchester Craft Beer Festival next week.
Ooh.
I will be there for both days doing tastings and indeed tours. We're introducing tours. So Mark Dredge is joining my team of tasting hosts, and we'll be alternating tours and tastings throughout the weekend. If you haven't got a ticket, you can hit up the link in the pod description below to get a ticket. With a little discount, courtesy of the Craft Beer channel, and come and say hi to me in the tastings tent at any point that weekend. I'm also hosting a little guild get-together, British Guild of Beer Writers event at the Balance Tap Room, which is just around the corner from the festival, in between sessions. Sessions. So I'll be hanging out with guild people there, but if you're just hanging out at Cloudwater or Track, come say hi for a beer. It would be lovely to see you. Otherwise, watch out. We'll probably do some social from the Burton Union on Tuesday and Wednesday. But otherwise, we'll see you for the pod next week.
Johnny,
have I missed anything, Bradders? Oh,
yeah,
clearly.
Before you go, an update on the Pranarom Aroma Force gummies from Spain, the throat gummies.
Yeah, hit me.
I've eaten half the packet while we've been
oh god.
on
have you
here.
Checked if they have a laxative effect or anything?
It's all in Spanish, mate. It's all Spanish to me, mate. So I've got no idea. I've eaten
we'll
at least
need an
10
update
of them
next week.
Yeah, I've eaten at least 10 of them, but I haven't coughed once, I don't think, which is amazing.
Are they actually made in Spain? Or
Yeah,
are
dude.
they
Yeah.
British contract made
No, man.
cough
These
sweets?
no,
It's not the
these-
Madry of cough sweets.
No, Pranarom Aroma Force. These are from Spain, dude. Proper
Right,
legit.
okay.
They've got EU certification on the back.
Wowee.
All sorts. They apparently got natural lemon in. Essential de limon. That's the only thing I can make out. 100% ecologicos, which I'm guessing is
Wowee.
good.
These sound expensive, Brad. If you've just pounded a
I've
tin
caned
of them.
Yeah. They're for 12 plus year olds. So I'm
Right.
guessing maybe
So something active in there.
I can probably eat 10 of them, probably, right? Yeah, that'd be all right.
We will find out. It might be a solo trip to Thornbridge next week.
God damn. I hope not. I want to see that Burton Union set.
Yeah, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. We'll wheel you in if you're under the weather. Cool. Right. Well, yeah. Like I say, hit up our socials Tuesday and Wednesday. Should be some good stuff going on, and we'll see you next week for the pod. Love and beer. The Bubble and Friday 5pm podcasts are brought to you by the nerds behind YouTube's Craft Beer channel. You can watch over 400 mini documentaries at youtube.com/the Craft Beer channel. And if you love what we do, support us via Patreon and get access to merchandise and our amazing Discord forum, a positive and welcoming space for everyone who loves beer, food, and homebrewing. Love and beer.